Now, after several months of constant increases this year, South Africans are set to for rather back-to-back fuel price decreases. The Automobile Association of South Africa says motorists can expect a price drop this week of more than 2 rands a litre of 95 unleaded petrol. Newzroom Afrika's Nick Anderson filed this report.
After constant fuel price increases, leaving South African motorists breathing a sigh of despair at the petrol pumps, for the second month in a row, things are about to get a little cheaper. According to data from the Central Energy Fund, the price of 95 unleaded petrol is set to drop by about 2 rand 30 cents a litre. 93 octane is set to decrease by around 2 rand 20 cents a litre. While not as sizable, diesel is set to decrease by about 80 cents a litre, with the price of paraffin also due to drop by the same amount. While the drop in the petrol price is a big relief compared to continuous increases, the AA's Leighton Beard warns that 2 decreases is nowhere near enough to rebalance the overall fuel price, which as it stands is 25 rand 40 cents per litre inland.
So decreases across the board for fuel, and that is good news for motorists and for consumers, but it doesn't offset those significant increases we saw in June and July. And obviously, while the fuel price, for instance, for 95, is going to be lower than it was, before June, it's nowhere near the levels that we had in January, which were around 19 rand 61, below 20 rand.
A downward trend in international oil prices is the main factor for this month's good news. The AA says positive oil prices, in fact, make up 94% of the reduction. So what about October and the rest of the year? Will motorists continue to be handed more relief at the pumps? Beard warns that the situation and strength of the rand are just too volatile to predict.
In the middle of August, the rand was trading at around 16 rand 16 to the dollar. Today, it's trading at around 17 rand 25, which is more than a rand weaker. It's the same with international oil prices. The one day you're looking at it, it's at $101 a barrel. The next day it's at 93, 97, whatever the case is. So these 2 factors that impact on the local fuel price are incredibly volatile. And to give a forecast of what's going to happen next week is nigh on impossible.
So it seems the moral of the story is clear. Savor the small price victory now, but be prepared for the possibility of more increases going forward. The Department of Mineral Resources and Energy is set to announce the finalized new fuel prices for this month on Monday. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Nick Anderson in Johannesburg.
Right, for more on that story, we're joined now by the Road Freight Association CEO, Gavin Kelly. Gavin, good evening. Thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. The news of the developments as far as the fuel price is concerned, is this a welcome relief for your members?
Good evening, Tabu. Good evening to all the viewers. I think every time the fuel price goes down, everybody breathes a sigh of relief, no matter how much. And yes, petrol is going down by about 2 rand 30, depending on what type of grade of fuel you use, 93 or 95. It could be a little less. But diesel's only going down by about 77 cents to 87 cents, depending on whether you use ppm, 50 ppm or 500 ppm. At the end of the day, it's good news. The price is going down. We're not going to feel that immediately tomorrow in prices and commodities, unfortunately, because obviously there's this wave of increases that came through. But no matter which way you look at it, it's going in the right direction, which is it's becoming cheaper.
Yeah. When are we going to begin to feel the impact, the positive impact, I suppose, particularly on the supply chain, beginning to reflect on our shelves in the stores?
Yeah, Talbot, that's always a tough question to answer, but I think we're going to start seeing that probably at the beginning of October. There will have been enough time, about 45 to 50 days, to allow stock to start cycling through. Remember, you're going to have stock coming through still that was transported at the higher rate. So there should be some decent prices coming through by the end of September, but definitely if it keeps going the way it's going, and I know our good friends at the AA said you can't predict where the fuel's going to go, but if we keep going at this sort of rate, that we see the rand holding steady or strengthening, and the price of fuel or oil, the international price, either holding or weakening or becoming lower, then we can start seeing some good signs towards the end of the year, definitely.
Yeah. However, Gavin, one would say concerns still remain around the effects of the global instability, and of course Russia, Ukraine being one of those major issues. In the long term, how do you think we could possibly shield ourselves from that fluctuation?
Well, I think one of the things we really have to focus on is something we did well a couple of years ago, which was produce our own fuel. And we did that from coal. So we've got to look at shielding ourselves from this sort of volatility. We've got the technology. I think that what the government needs to do is check whether that technology is still up to date. It still can produce fuel and make it a clean fuel, and then ramp up that sort of production, because we've got the coal, we've got the technological know-how. And then I think we have to push hard, really hard, on electric vehicles and on those industries that use oil as an energy source to drive some sort of electrical power, for example. So we start pushing that solar and that green technology.
Yeah. So if you were to make one appeal now to government and they were listening, what is it that would be easy picking, so to speak, low-hanging fruits that they can immediately put to work and try and speed up that program and take us in that right direction?
I think it would be ramping up the output of the Sasols 1, 2, and 3. They worked very well. Let's get them to push out more fuel for us.
Gavin Kelly, much appreciated, and thanks so much for coming on and your intervention tonight.